One thing that I'm not happy about though is this news courtesy of Mixmag. Central London plans nightlife zones due to noise complaints from residents. Central London plans nightlife zones due to noise complaint from residents. Now, obviously, this article made me get angry. When I read it, it was more so in favor of nightlife zones as opposed to in favor of residents. So the idea behind it is to have places where clubs can be open and be loud, and try to put them as far away from residents as possible. But it just made me annoyed because, you know, the whole gentrification debate is boring and tired, and we all know what the main points are, and most of us agree. But I just don't understand why there can't be a level of balance and fairness. Because we all have to share the space, right? We have to share the city. We have to share it. We all live in here together. So the people who don't like clubs, who don't like parties, they live here. People like me that do love them, we live here too. So there should be some level of like there should be a compromise, you know? It shouldn't always be weighted and always be, you know, the residents that live in these type of areas shouldn't always get the final say so. They shouldn't always be the ones that get listened to more than the people who go to the clubs or the nightlife industry people in general. There should be some level of balance, some level of compromise. And I feel like when it comes to places like Central London, like if you actually have a house in Central London, which is very rare, but if you do have one, then you have to be aware that you live in fucking Central London. It's going to be non-stop like probably the only day that is actually quiet might be Christmas Day. Right, might be, because I remember a lot of retail stores don't open on Christmas Day. I remember that was one of my wake-up calls when I used to work retail. One of my managers from Dr. Martens, big up Andrew, he gave me a real wake-up call when I was like, oh yeah, are we off on bank holiday or something? He kind of laughed at me and said, babe, the only day we're not open is Christmas. So if you live in Central London, the only day you actually get any level of peace is probably Christmas. Not even on Sundays. Back in the day, you know, in retail especially, Sundays was like the sacred day, right? Shops will close early, whatever it may be. But in London, shops are open super late. Like, there is no such thing as like Sunday hours anymore. It doesn't exist. So if you live in London, you have to understand that you're going to be surrounded by noise, traffic, pollution, whatever else it may be. So, and just people in general, right? So to then get really picky and finicky about clubs and bars and whatever next to you, it's just asinine. It's dumb. It's dumb as fuck, really. Just move somewhere where there's not going to be that many people. Just don't live in Central London. Living in Central London and complaining about people or noise is just insane to me personally. And it's also a real crying shame that there isn't a lot of like great clubs in Central London anyway. You know, it's a good place to go and travel, especially nowadays, or to go and sightsee, especially nowadays with the advent of the fucking Elizabeth line. It makes going to Central London super fucking easy for a lot of people who live in the kind of areas that I live in general. And it's just a nice way to go to Central London without having to go through all the stops on the Central line or the other fucking lines. So it's just like, it's a real shame that you don't have the ability to go out and have fun. You can just go there and eat, really, for the most part, or maybe go to a theatre or shop. But then you have to leave if you want to go in club and go somewhere else in east, south, north, or west. But there's no actual partying in Central London. I think, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of the clubs and bars there, their licenses end at like 11 o'clock or 12 a.m. sometimes, which is fucking incredibly dumb because we also have a 24-hour tube. So we have a 24-hour tube for what? For nothing, really. It makes no sense. Let me read the article. A nighttime plan in central London will see the creation of a dedicated nightlife entertainment zones in a controversial move to appease noise complaints from local residents. Unveiled as part of the first ever Westminster After Dark strategy, the plan from the Westminster Council names areas such as Oxford Circus, the Strand, Victoria Street as zones targeted to host live music, theatre and creative venues in a bid to move noise away from people living near existing venues in central London. So existing venues in central London now will have to move to other areas to appease the people who live next to existing venues, who most likely moved there after the existing, like who weren't there before, definitely came there after the existing venue was founded. Like, how are you gonna live on top of a club and then complain about the noise? Sorry. Like, honestly, some compromise. Yes, the club maybe shouldn't be open Monday to fucking Sunday. Maybe have some compromise. But complaining about a club when you live on top of one is just wild to me. When you choose to live on top of one is wild to me. And the nerfing of the nightlife scene in London as well, it's so upsetting. Every part of London is turning into Stoke Newington. Just inundated with restaurants and pubs and bars and that's it. Like, no clubs. If you want to eat, there's a ton of restaurants. You can just chuck a stone and find one easily. If you want to have a really overpriced cocktail, you can find one. Overpriced coffee, you can find one. Overpriced burgers, you can find one. But a club, everyone fucking gets crazy and nervous about it. It's fucking weird, man. The announcement comes amid a decline in nightlife venues in the capital, with the figure from NTIA suggesting that 19.7% of venues have closed since COVID-19, and the issues on ongoing complaints aimed at entertainment venues from the residents central. Local business owners such as Jeremy Joseph, who runs LGBTQ plus bar GAY, have accused the council of only listening to the locals and not prioritizing the area's culture. Exactly. Earlier this year, GAY was put up for sale, with its owner claiming Soho has lost its vibrancy and it doesn't feel like anyone with power cares about hospitality. That's the problem. It's all the priorities weighted on the residents. Let's have some balance. Let's meet in the middle. Maybe the club shouldn't be open 24/7 around the clock. I get it. But let's meet in the middle, bro. It shouldn't just be, oh, the residents complain, the club gets shut down incompletely. You know, like, come on, bro. Like, it just takes away any kind of vibe, any kind of like life, anything from those type of areas. And those clubs are sometimes were there before the residents got there. Like, why shouldn't that also be taken into consideration? It's fucking wild. And you would imagine too, like, clubs will definitely make way more money for those areas than residents anyway. Different people coming into those places every fucking weekend, spending a ton of money, going to the local shops on their way home. But I guess that's probably not a thing. The Westminster After Dark strategy follows the launch of Sadiq Khan's first ever nightlife task force to address the challenges facing nightlife in the capital for February. I'm going to try and stop the decline, he said, and reverse it, said the Mayor of London. We shouldn't need to reverse it. It shouldn't have got this bad anyway, to be fair. The fact that they're trying is a good thing, but it shouldn't have got this bad. It shouldn't have got to a place where record numbers of clubs are closing. That was just like dumb in the first place. There should have been a halt on those type of things, especially some of the smaller places. It feels like all we have is fucking mega venues. We don't really have decent like 500 and less capacity places, which I think are the birthplaces of communities and scenes. Instead, we just have 1,000 places like drum sheds that are opening. They don't seem to stop opening. I think Printworks is going to reopen again next year. Drum sheds is there. Like, we are inundated with those type of places, but we don't have sub 500 at the plenty, which kind of devoid any place of being a scene, which is probably why we have this, you know, increase in illegal quote unquote raves happening all over the place, because people just don't have any places to fucking rave in anymore. It's annoying. It continues. Other aspects of the strategy include a plan to encourage quiet nights and calm zones at venues with reduced noise levels and dim lighting to make the entertainment areas that sensory friendly and inclusive for neurodivergent people. Excuse me? If you're neurodivergent and you live in fucking central London, you have a mental illness. Like, you need help. You need fucking help if you are actually neurodivergent and you willingly go to live in central London. Like, please do yourself a favor and move somewhere else. Come on, man. More family-friendly nighttime activities are planned, with non-alcoholic-led activities such as late-night shopping and museum openings named in the strategy. There's also the aim to install a extra... oh, this sounds like fun. There's also an aim to install extra 100 CCTV cameras to improve street lighting amid measures to target antisocial behavior. Like, what? So the only way to improve lighting is to install a camera, because if you have a camera, you need good lighting. Oh my god, bro. That's what we need, isn't it? We need more cameras in central London. Definitely we need more. Support for culturally significant LGBTQ spaces. Measures to protect women are by requiring licensed venues to assess and mitigate women's safety with zero tolerance approaches to harassment are also listed in the proposal, which would definitely be good, because I think central London places anyway, when there were clubs around there, I think women can definitely, you know, attest to the fact that central London clubs are a bit of a dicey place to go for a woman. You know, they were full of the worst type of guys, because those clubs had no entry policy. As long as you had money and you had the right clothing on, you could go in there, you know. Actually, I was surprised the other day. When was it? It was like maybe a few months ago. I was cycling randomly in like Shoreditch, and I felt like I wanted a drink, so I parked up on where was I? I was on like Curtain Road or something. I think I might have been on Curtain Road in Shoreditch. If you know the area, you know what I'm talking about. And I tried to pop into a few clubs and they wouldn't let me in, because I was obviously cycling. I was wearing my shorts, so yeah, you can't wear. And it was like a Thursday or something. It wasn't even like a popping night. I was like, I can't come in. It's like, no, it's not the right dress code. Like, you want me to wear like what, trousers to go into like a bar in Shoreditch? Like, when the fuck did Shoreditch turn into Soho? Like, what? It honestly surprised me so much. Don't get me wrong, maybe it was like a race thing, you never know. It's just their excuse to make sure the niggas don't go in there. But a lot of the places were like, no, you can't come in because you don't have trousers on. You have shorts. It's like, huh? Anyway, whatever. Westminster After Dark aims to balance the needs of a thriving evening and nighttime offer with the well-being of the residents who call Westminster their homes. This new strategy is our response to the obvious challenges of managing these competing demands. Following extensive engagement, Westminster After Dark explores how we will remain welcoming, innovative, inclusive, and livable city that's something to offer for everyone. The consultation strategy runs until 22nd of June. So let's see. Hopefully it works out, but I find the idea of having quiet zones in central London absolutely insane. Really, big up Jordan Ray. Is that true? Jordan Ray says, I'm neurodivergent, I live in central London. Jesus, bro, I pray for you. I pray for you. That's probably the worst place to live if you're neurodivergent. The amount of neon lights, the amount of noise, the fucking guys on the little cycling things, on the little bikes, they all have fucking Bluetooth speakers with LEDs going all over the place. Just people in general, outside noises, the police sirens, bikes, buses, oof, people busking. Yeah, I pray for Jordan Ray. Big up Jordan Ray, being neurodivergent, living in fucking central London. What an absolute horror. What an absolute horror.